Hi everyone, in this tutorial we're going to learn web scraping with Python using Selenium. Selenium is a framework that allows us to scrape dynamic websites, and in this video we'll learn Selenium by solving a complete project from scratch. We'll see how to install Selenium, learn how to find elements, click on a button, select elements from dropdowns, extract data from tables, and export it into a CSV file. So let's get started. To scrape websites with Selenium, first you have to download Chromedriver and install Selenium. To download Chromedriver, just go to chromedriver.chromium.org, and in the download section you will find this page. Here you will find the current releases of Chromedriver, and you have to choose the one that corresponds to the version of the Google Chrome you're using. To know which version is the right for you, just go to this three dots button on the upper right corner and click on it. And inside Help, click on About Google Chrome. Here you will see the version of Google Chrome that you have installed. So in my case, I have installed version 92. So I'm going back to the other tab, and now I'm going to choose Chromedriver 92. But in your case, you have to choose the one that corresponds to your Chromedriver. So I click on Chromedriver 92. Then you'll see options for different operating systems. So you'll see Linux, Mac, and Windows. In my case, I have a Mac, so I'm going to download Mac 64. So I click on it, and then it's going to start downloading the file. Once the file is downloaded, unzip the file, and remember the path where you're leaving this file, because we're gonna use this path later. Now it's time to install Selenium. So you can install inside PyCharm. So just open PyCharm and then go to the terminal located on the bottom. So click on it, and after that just write pip install Selenium. And after this, just press enter. And after this, you'll have Selenium installed. Another way to install Selenium is just opening the terminal or the command prompt. In my case, I'm gonna open the terminal, and once you have the terminal, just activate your virtual environment and then write pip install Selenium and press enter, and then Selenium will be installed on your machine. And that's it. In the next video, we'll start scraping websites using Selenium. Okay, now that you installed Selenium, it's time to import the library. So we write from Selenium import WebDriver. So we just imported WebDriver from Selenium. This is what we're going to use to create a driver that will help us scrape websites. This is all you need to start with Selenium. So now let's create a driver. So first we're going to define the website we're going to scrape, and I'm gonna go to the website here, and this is the website. So here you can find data about football matches, and this is the link. So I'm just going to copy the link. We're going to analyze the best approach to scrape this website later, but now we just need the link. So I copy the link and I'm going to paste it here. Next, we have to define the path where we downloaded the Chromedriver. So I'm going to create a new variable called path, and here I'm going to open single quotes and I'm going to write my path. Actually, I copied the path before making the video, so I'm going to just paste it here, and I pasted it, and here, as you can see, it's inside my downloads folder. So you have to locate your Chromedriver file and just copy and paste the path. Then we're going to define a driver variable, and we're going to set this equal to WebDriver.Chrome, and inside parentheses we're going to paste the path here. Now I'm using here .Chrome because I downloaded that Chromedriver. But if you downloaded, for example, Firefox, you should write here Firefox or Safari. But I recommend you to use Chrome since it works well with Selenium. So now I'm going to open a browser or driver doing driver.get. And now inside parentheses, I'm gonna write the website variable, so website. So let's do a little recap here. We first imported the WebDriver from Selenium, then we defined the website, then the path where the Chromedriver is, and we created a driver which is going to help us scrape the website. So this is a WebDriver from Chrome because we downloaded the Chromedriver, and now we're going to open a Chromedriver window with this driver.get. So now to show you this, I'm gonna run this script. So I'm gonna right click and then run to show you how this looks like. So this is running, and now it should open a window with this website. And now it's loading, and as you can see here, there is a message that says Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. This means that Selenium is behind this, so the code was successfully executed. Now, one more thing here, to close the browser or window we just opened with Selenium, we have to write driver.quit. And don't forget to do it every time you do driver.get, because you're gonna open a window, and if you don't close it, you're gonna have a lot of Chrome windows open on your computer. Finally, remember that you have to write this code every time you want to create a bot with Selenium. And that's it. On the next video, I'll show you how to click on a button using Selenium. So we will continue with this tutorial in a second. I just want to let you know that I created a Python cheat sheet that covers libraries for data analysis, web scraping, and machine learning. You can download this cheat sheet for free using the link in the description below. Okay, before scraping with Selenium, let's have a look at the website. So here we can see that this website has data about football matches, and we see that the data is stored in tables. So we see tables, and inside tables there are rows. And here we can see also buttons, so you can split the matches between home and away, or you can put them together in all matches. So if I click here in all matches, we don't have two tables, but we have only one table, and that's this button. In here we can change the country or the lake here and the year. So first what we're going to do is to put these two tables together, so we have one table per team. So for example, instead of having these two tables per team, we're gonna have just clicking here one table per team. So we're going to scrape all the tables that correspond to each team. So first let's click here, and then let's track the data inside the table. So let's start with the all matches button. So to click on this button, we have first to inspect this element to see if it has an ID or a class name, or we have to build an XPath to locate it. So we have to locate this, and to do so we right click and then click on inspect. So I have here the developer tools with the HTML behind this all matches button, and here we can see that there is no ID, and this class has a weird class name, and I think the best approach will be to locate this with XPath. So for example, we can use this analytics event attribute in this all matches value. Since the button is called all matches, I think this is gonna be a solid XPath. So let's build it. So first I press Ctrl F to build the XPath here in this find box. And now we have to remember how to build XPath. So as you might remember, to build an XPath, you have to write / and then the tag name, then square brackets, the @sign, the attribute equal to, and then quotes, and inside quotes the attribute value. So let's write this, but first I'm gonna copy these all matches. So remember these three elements: the label, which is the tag, the analytics event, which is the attribute, and the all matches, which is the attribute value. So let's write / then label, which is the tag, now square brackets, add, here I'm gonna write analytics dash event equal to, in here I'm gonna open single or double quotes, and inside I'm going to paste the value I just copied before. And we finished building the XPath. And here on the right, we can see that the XPath matched one element. And this element is highlighted in green, so it's this one. And if we select it, we can see that this represents this all matches button. So we successfully built this XPath because it locates the element we wanted. So I'm gonna copy this XPath and then go to PyCharm. Now, to locate this element with Selenium, we have to use this driver, as I told you before. So we write driver, then find element. And as you can see here, there are many ways to find elements with Selenium. There are tag names, XPath, class names, CSS, IDs, but here we're going to use XPath. So I double click on it, and then I'm gonna open quotes and paste it. Now, remember that if you use here single quotes, you have to use double quotes here for the XPath. And vice versa. If you use here in the XPath single quotes, you have to use double quotes because Python is not gonna let you have the same quotes. So let me show you. If I write here double quotes and double quotes, it's not gonna work. So I'm gonna just change this and write single quotes here as it was before. And now I'm gonna create a new variable called all matches button. So this code is going to be equal to all matches button. And this is how you locate an element with Selenium. So far so good. Now we're going to click on this button. So I'm going to write here all matches button. And now to click on a button using Selenium, we have to use the click method. So we write that and then click. Then click with the parentheses. And this is how you click on the button. Now let's test out this code. So I'm gonna run and let's see what happens. So I click on run and Selenium is gonna open the browser, and now it's going to press on this all matches button. So let's wait. Oh, okay, we couldn't see because I left this code here. I'm gonna comment this out so we can see the result. So let's do this again. I'm going to run this. So Selenium is going to open the browser again, but in this time it's not going to close the browser. So yeah, so here Selenium pressed on this button, and now we have just one table per team. So as you can see here, all the teams have just one table, and it's not split in home away anymore. So great. Now I'm gonna quit this manually, and now back to PyCharm. Okay, in this video you learn how to click on a button with Selenium. We just needed these 2 lines of code. On the next video, I'll show you how to extract data from a table using Selenium. Okay, now it's time to show you how to extract data from a table using Selenium. So the code we wrote so far opens a website and then clicks on the all matches button. So it opens this website and then clicks on this button. But now we want it to scrape this data too. So usually when you have to extract data from tables, you will see that tables use tag names that are tr or td. Those represent the rows here. You can see the rows and the data inside the rows. So for example, tr is going to be this first row, and td is going to represent the data on each column. So td1 it's going to be the data on the first column, td2 on the second, and so on. So let's see if this table works in this way. So to find out, let's inspect the website. So first right click and then click on inspect. And now we get the code behind this table, and as you can see here, we got this td because we inspected this name, and we got the second element in the first row. So we have td and it's the second td. Also here we have 4 td elements. Here are the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. And all of them have a common parent node, which is this tr. So this is the parent node of these TD elements. So as you can see, this table is built with these TR and TD tags. So this is how most websites build tables. So now I'm going to show you how to scrape these kind of tables. So let's go back to PyCharm, and here what we're going to do is to find elements by tag names. So we write driver dot find element by tag name. So here inside we write the tag name. So back to the browser here, and the tag name, as you can see here, is tr. So we have only to copy this tr, and here I'm gonna write tr. So if we run this code, what we're gonna see is that Python is gonna return just one element, because this find element by tag name just locates one element. But here on the website, we can see that we don't want just one element, because here there are many rows and we want all the rows here. So we want Selenium to locate all the TR elements, so all the rows. So if we want to locate multiple elements with the same class name or tag name, we have to use elements in plural here. So instead of just writing find element by tag name, we add the s to find multiple elements. So with this, we're gonna get all the elements with the tr tag name. But one important thing that you have to know is that when you use find elements in plural, you also get a list. And in most cases, we have to loop through it later. So I'm gonna show you this, but first I'm gonna create a new variable named matches, and I'm gonna set equal to this code. Now, to get the data inside this matches list, we have to loop through the list. So we write for match in matches, colon, and inside this for loop, we have to write match and that text. So this that text will return the text of that element. So with this, we're gonna get these words instead of code, because so far the matches list only have the raw response that we get from the website. But with that text, we get the data we want. So now I'm gonna print this to show you how it looks like. And now it's time to run this script. So I'm gonna right click, and then I'm gonna click on run to see Selenium in action. So now it opened a browser, it clicked on this button, and now it should be scraping all the data. So let's go back here, and yeah, as you can see here, Selenium is scraping the data row by row, and it's printing each of them. Now, there are around 700 rows, and Selenium scraped it in a decent amount of time. So now let's verify the data. So the first row is Fulham 0, Arsenal 3, and let's go back to the browser to see if that's correct. And yeah, that's the first row, and now let's check the last row. So it's Wolf 1, Man United 2, and let's see here 2, and yeah, this is the same data. So Selenium successfully scraped the tables. Now, one little detail here is that all the data is contained in one variable. So this is okay, that's fine, but if you later want to store that in a data frame, you're gonna get one column with all this data. And then you have to use some Python techniques like regular expressions to put each data in different columns. So if we want to avoid this, we can store each data inside a variable. So for example, we can create a list for this date, then another list for the home team, another for the result, and one for the away team. So let's do this. So first, I'm gonna create empty lists. So I write date equal to square brackets. These square brackets represent empty lists. And now I'm gonna duplicate this 3 times. So here I'm gonna write home team. Here I'm gonna write the score or the result, and here away team. So we have the lists. Now we need to scrape the data. So instead of doing match.text, we can scrape the TD elements inside the TR. So let me show you here in the browser. I'm gonna quit this browser. And now in the original window we had before, here we can see that each TR has these 4 TDs, as I mentioned before. So here we have 1 TR and 1 TD for the day, then the home team, score, and the away team. So if we want to get this TD element, we have to write TD and then add square brackets. It's like indentation. And inside the square brackets, we add the number of the TD element. So if it's the first, we write 1, the second 2, the third 3, and the fourth 4. This is different from Python because indentation in Python starts with 0, but when we work with XPath, we have to start with 1. So let me show you here. We're not going to use here tag name, but we're going to use XPath. So let me show you. I'm going to press Control F or Command F, and now I'm going to write /tr. So this is how you locate these tr elements. Before we located with tag names, but we can also do it with XPath. So as you might remember, to locate with XPath, you write / and then the tag name, in this case tr. So if I navigate here, we get all the rows. Now, if we want to get the TD inside this tr, we only have to write / because we want the immediate child nodes, and then we have to write TD. So I'm going to write TD. So now we have here all the TD elements. So if we navigate, we go one by one. And now let me show you how to get only the date. So as I said before, if we want only the date, we write square brackets and then we write number 1 because it's on the first column. So if I navigate here, now it only goes through each date, as you can see here. And if I change for number 3, we only get the scores. So this is what we're going to do. So now I'm going to copy this and now back to PyCharm. So I'm going to minimize this one and now I'm going to change this code. So I'm going to write here match find element by XPath. So as you can see here, we're not using driver find element by XPath anymore because we want to use this match context. So we want to have this as a reference for our XPath. So if we want to use that match context, you have to write match instead of driver. And then in the XPath, you have to write the $sign because the $sign specifies that you want to use the current context. And then we have to build the XPath. So we write / and then TD. So as you might remember, I copied the XPath and I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to just add quotes to compare. So here we have /tr. This is this expression. And then this TD, it's what you can see here. So I only included this stat to replace the whole code here. Hope that makes sense. And now I'm gonna add the square brackets to locate the first element, which is for dates. So now to get the text, I'm gonna write that text. And now I'm gonna duplicate this 3 times and I'm just going to change the data inside the square bracket. So 1, 2, 3, and here 4. And now I'm going to store each of them in a list. So this one corresponds to the date list. So I'm going to write date, and then I'm going to use the append method to store this data into this list. So we have this text here that represents the date, and we're going to append this inside the date list. Now we do the same for the home team. So I write home team, append, parentheses, score, append, parentheses, and finally away _ team, append, and finally parentheses. But now to see how the process is going, I'm gonna print one of these elements. So I'm gonna copy this one, and now I'm gonna create a new element called home equal to that, and now I'm going to replace this for home. Next, I'm going to print the home variable. So this is useful to see how the scraping process is going, and also helps to debug code. So now it's time to run this script. So I'm gonna right click and then click on run, and let's see what happens. So now a browser was opened, and now Selenium click on this button, and now it's supposed to be scraping the data. So let's go here, and it's scraping that data one by one. So this could take a little bit of time, so I'm gonna stop the process with this red button. I just don't want to make this video so long, and that's it. On the next video, I'm gonna show you how to store all this data inside a data frame. So far, we learned how to extract data from a website, but now it's time to show you how to export that data into a CSV file or JSON file. To export data in different formats with Selenium, we have to use the Pandas library. Pandas will let us manage all that data inside data frames. You can think of a data frame like a spreadsheet on Excel. Pandas is a whole new library, but here we're going to learn just how to store data into a data frame. So first we have to install Pandas. So in case you don't have it, just open a terminal here inside Python and then run pip install pandas. Then press enter. In my case, I already have it installed. And once it's installed, just write here import pandas as PD. PD is just a short name for pandas, so we can use it without writing a long word. So now to create a data frame, we're going to write PD data frame, and now we open parentheses. Now we can create a data frame from different ways, but since we already have lists, we can do it with dictionaries. So dictionaries are made of lists, and we can create a dictionary with curly braces. So here we have the parentheses because of the data frame, and here the curly braces because of the dictionary. And inside a dictionary, we have to set a key. So here we open single quotes and write the key. So I want first to create a date, and I'm going to write the date key, and inside I'm going to put the list. So this is the structure of a dictionary. You have the key, then column, and then the list. So I'm going to write one key for one list. Now it's time for the home team. So I'm going to write here home team, then column, then the list, then score. So I create the key and then the list, and finally away team. So first the key, column, and the list. Now I'm going to set this to a data frame named df. So this is the data frame I'm going to create. And now to export all of this data to a CSV file, we have to use df and then the to CSV. So here you can see that you can export it to JSON, Excel, and also CSV. CSV is the most popular choice, and I'm going to use. It stands for comma separated values, and it's a simplified version of Excel. So it's really common for managing small data sets. So I'm going to use to CSV, and now open parentheses. So inside here you have to create the name of the CSV file. In this case, I'm going to name it football underscore data, and you have to specify the extension. So it's .csv. And now you can export it as it is, but I like to add one more argument, and this is the index. So by default, data frames works with index, and if we export it in a CSV file, we're gonna get a column with that index data. So it's gonna be a column with 1, 2, 3, and so on. If you want to disable that, you just have to add index and here write false. Now let's print this df to see how it looks in the terminal. So I write print df, and now the code is ready to be executed. So I'm going to uncomment this so the driver quits after the scraping process is finished. And now I'm gonna run this script. So I click on run, and now let's see what happens. So the browser is open now, and now click on all matches, and now Selenium should be scraping all this data. So let's see here, and yeah, it's printing this home variable we created before, and probably this is going to take some time. Remember that Selenium, it's not so fast. For example, Scrapy, it's way faster than Selenium. So later in this course, I'm going to compare both of them so you can see yourself how fast is Scrapy compared to Selenium. Now, it took Selenium around 1 minute to get all of this data, and finally it printed this data frame. So I have this data frame, and I'm gonna check if the CSV file was created. So I'm gonna open it here, and yeah, it's here, football_data. So I double click on it, and here we have the 4 columns: the date, home team, score, and away team. And that's it. You learned how to export the data we scraped into a CSV file.
Hey, hope you're enjoying this tutorial. If you'd like to master web scraping in Python by solving cool projects like this one, consider taking my course. There, we will learn pagination, infinite scrolling, weights, how to export data to SQLite, MongoDB, and more. For more details, check the link in the description below.
On this video, I'm going to show you how to select elements within dropdowns. So you can change the value here. For example, I'm going to change it to Germany, and all this data is going to load. Okay, before I start with this explanation, I have to make a note here. The type of dropdown that we're going to select in this video is some dynamic dropdown, because if you click on it, for example, I change to another value, the link doesn't change, but only the content. I believe these kind of dropdowns are built with Ajax. I'm not so familiar with that, but in any case, these dropdowns helps the website to load all the data dynamically. So I'm gonna inspect on this element to see the code behind this dropdown. So as you can see here, this is the code, and if I try to inspect on the elements inside the dropdown, let me see if it's possible. So here I can't do it. If I try to open the dropdown first and then inspect, I lose the dropdown. So this is other kind of behavior that these kind of dropdowns have. With the traditional dropdowns, you can just apply what we've learned so far and just inspect the element you want and locate the element and then click on the element as we did before on the clicking on a button section. But in this case, we're going to use a different approach. So here on Python, we write from selenium.webdriver.support and then .ui. I know this is a bit long, but you can just copy it and paste it from the cheat sheet that I include in this course. And here I'm going to write select. So this is what we're going to use to tackle this kind of dropdown. So here we inspected the element before, and let's see how we can locate this element. So here we have a class and we have multiple values, and fortunately here we can see that there is an ID with the name set to country. So probably this one will have an ID league and this one will have an ID season. So let's locate this country dropdown. So I'm gonna copy this ID, and now back to Python. Here I'm gonna open a space here for the dropdown part, and now I'm gonna write select, which is what we imported here, and I'm gonna open parentheses, and now we can write the usual code we've been writing so far. So something like this. So we write driver dot find element. So in this case, we found an ID, so we're gonna just find element by ID. And inside parentheses, I open single quotes and write country. So as you can see here, this is the usual stuff, but we have to include this inside select. This is what you have to do every time you see this kind of dropdown. So now I'm gonna set this to a variable name dropdown. So now once we selected this, we can choose the element we want to select. So here there are many countries. So let's say that we want to choose now the element Spain. So here we write drop down that, and there are different ways to get that element. So we can do it by index, by value, and by visible text. The index, as I told you before, it's just the position it's located. So this is gonna be 1, 2, 3, and so on. We can do it also by the visible text, and I think this is the easiest one here. So we're gonna select by visible text. So now I'm gonna open quotes and write here Spain. So with this, what Selenium is gonna do is click here and then click on Spain. And as you see, every time we change this option, the website takes a couple of seconds to render the results. So I'm gonna do it one more time, and now you can see this loading stats message. So sometimes if that goes slow, that can make our code to break, because the bot we built with Selenium scrapes the data fast, and if it doesn't find the data, it's gonna throw an error saying that the element wasn't found. So to deal with this, we have to use weights. I'm going to explain you weights in more detail later, but I can show you the most basic way to create weights. So we have to import time. So we're going to use the time library here, and we have to use the sleep method. So after we click on the country, as we've seen before, the page is going to show a message that says loading page, and it's gonna take like a couple of seconds. So we're gonna do time.sleep, and here we're gonna set the seconds we want this code to wait before it executes the next line of code. So let's say we want it to stop just for 3 seconds. So we write 3, and once it reaches this point, it's gonna stop for 3 seconds and then execute this code. Now it's time to test out the code, and I'm going to right click and now click on run. So I'm click on it, and then let's see what happens. So now the browser should be open, and first click on the all matches button, let's see, and then change to Spain. Yeah, it changed to Spain matches, and now it should be scraping all this data about match results in the Spanish league. So let's see here. Yeah, here it's printing the home teams of the Spanish league, and it's gonna take some time. So I'm gonna cut this part and show you when it's finished. Okay, now all the data was scraped, and now here is the data frame printed on the terminal, but I'm gonna show you the CSV file we created. So I'm gonna double click here on football data, and now you can see the results of the Spanish league instead of the Premier League that was by default on the website. And here you have all the data. It's around 760 rows, and yeah, let's check if the data is correct. So it starts with Alaves and Betis. Let's see here. So I changed to Spain, and it's loading. Yeah, 1-0 Alaves Betis, and let's check here. The last one is Real Madrid Villarreal 2-1. So fast check, and yeah, it's here. So congratulations, you just built your first bot using Selenium.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. That's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one.